I never imagined I would save a billionaire's life in a snowstorm. Now he can't forget my warmth. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sky was a raging gray, thick with swirling snow. Each flake hit my face like icy daggers, stinging, biting. My hands trembled as I pulled my coat tighter against me. I was just on my way to the diner, trying to catch a warm cup of coffee to fend off the chill. But fate had other plans. That I was wandering through the snow, glancing at my phone, making sure my sister knew I was okay. Anna was my lifeline. At 25, she kept our family together. Our parents were gone, and she had always been there for me. Just be careful, she'd said before I left the house. You know how crazy it gets in storms like this. But then it happened. I heard it, a loud crash followed by a strange silence. My heart raced. I turned towards the sound, a glimpse of twisted metal peeking through the white haze. My breath caught like a fish on a line. There, amidst the wreckage, the unmistakable outline of a car, a lavish, black sedan. My gut sank as I approached the sight. It was a mess. Shards of glass glimmered dangerously, like broken promises scattered across the snow. That I could hear it now, the faint, desperate plea for help. My heart thumped, a wild drum in my chest. I pressed on, each step a struggle against the wind's icy hands. Inside the car, there he was. The billionaire, known for his charm and magnetic presence, was hunched over, blood trickling from his forehead, mixing with the pure white snow. I never thought I would find him like this. Hello. Are you okay? My voice was shaky. The sight of him, vulnerable, shattered something deep inside me. He didn't respond. Panic surged. I tapped the window frantically, the glass obscuring our worlds. I gripped the handle and yanked it open. The air was electric, charged with urgency. What do I do? I whispered to myself, my hands trembling uncontrollably. The snow continued falling, quiet and heavy, as if holding its breath in anticipation. I leaned inside. He looked up at me, eyes wide and confused. Help, please. His voice was barely a whisper, cracking like fragile ice. Time blurred. I reached for him, feeling his warmth contrasting with the bone-chilling cold around us. My fingers brushed against his skin, the connection between us sparking something I never understood before. Stay with me, okay? I said, desperate, fighting the rising tide of fear. As I tried to pull him out, my body screamed in protest. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? Tears stung my eyes, but there was no time for self-doubt. Our fates were intertwined in that moment, two souls lost in a storm, fighting against all odds. The shrieking sirens in the distance echoed through the stillness just as I pulled him free. Darkness threatened to swallow me whole, a weight anchoring me down. I felt his body lean against mine, and suddenly it wasn't just about saving a life, it was about hope, the flickering light in the eye of a storm. I could still hear my sister's voice, calm and soothing. Everything will be okay. You've got this. But just then, I noticed something. His eyes, those deep, stormy eyes, were locking onto mine with an intensity that made my heart stutter, and then, just like that, the world swirled around us. The snow, the silence, my racing thoughts, they all faded into the background, leaving only the sound of our heartbeats. I was terrified. What would happen next? Was I brave, or just reckless? And as I held on to him, the weight of that moment settled deep into my bones. Would he ever forget my warmth after this? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The snow continued to fall, heavy and relentless, as the world around us turned into a blur of white. I felt his body lean against mine, warmth seeping through the layers of clothing separating us, the tension between us palpable. In that moment, I became awash in his vulnerability. It struck me then that even the strongest among us could be brought low. As the sirens wailed closer, I forced myself to look into his eyes, searching for signs of awareness. "What is your name?" I asked, my throat tight. He opened his mouth to answer, but no sound emerged. Instead, he blinked slowly, the fight in him ebbing away. My fingers tightened around his arm. "Stay with me, please. Help is coming." I wanted to inspire strength, pull him back from the edge. But in that frigid landscape, surrounded by chaos, my own strength began to falter. As I waited for the rescue crew, my thoughts turned to Anna. The weight of my responsibility pressurized my chest. What if I hadn't checked in with her before heading out? What if she panicked? Racing thoughts tangled in my mind. Would I ever see her again? The sound of crunching snow interrupted my worries. The rescue team appeared like a mirage on the horizon, cloaked in bright colors against the drab backdrop. Relief washed over me momentarily, but as they rushed toward us, my grip on his arm tightened. I looked down, and in that instant, I noticed something that terrified me more than the cold. Blood, pooling beneath him, staining the pristine snow a shocking red. My heart lurched. No. No. The paramedics worked swiftly, their voices a flurry of urgency. They took over with practiced grace, sliding him onto a stretcher. I tried to keep up, my legs moving as if mired in quicksand. "Will he be okay? Please, tell me he will be okay." The disarray of medical jargon felt like a tide pulling me away from the only certainty I had. The connection we formed in those dire moments. One of the medics turned to me, concern creasing her brow. "We'll do everything we can. We need to get him to the hospital. Can I come?" I blurted out, desperation clawing at my words. She hesitated, taking in my disheveled appearance, the way the snow clung to my eyelashes. "Let us focus on him for now, please." My voice pierced through the chaos, and I saw a flicker of sympathy in her eyes before she nodded, indicating for someone to help me into the ambulance. As the doors swung shut, the small space erupted in controlled chaos. My reality shrank down to the rhythm of beeping machines and the frantic mutter of the doctors. Their dedication demanded respect, but a shroud of helplessness settled over me. I reached out, my fingers hovering above his hand, desperate to make contact. "Stay with me," I whispered, as if my words could anchor him to life. The familiar warmth began to ebb, his grip slipping into darkness. I couldn't help but recall the weight of his gaze moments before the crash, those stormy eyes asking for help, for hope. "I shouldn't have been out there," I muttered, swallowed by regret. But was it the snowstorm I should have feared, or was it just my fate that had brought me to this point? And suddenly, I remembered Anna's words, soft and steady in a world of chaos. "You've always been brave." The ambulance lurched, and in an instant, the feeling of warmth dissipated, replaced by a chilling finality. An array of lights and voices blurred together as they rushed through the hospital corridors. I had no choice but to relinquish my grip as they wheeled him away, the distance between us growing impossibly vast. Panic settled in my chest, heavy and unyielding. I couldn't simply stand there and wait. Gritting my teeth, I stepped forward, my feet carrying me as if they had a mind of their own. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled my lungs as I stumbled into the waiting area, a sense of dread pooling there as well. What could I do to help him? As I paced, a nurse caught my eye and approached me, her expression kind but solemn. "Are you family?" she asked, and my heart sank under the weight of my own significance. I'm a friend." Her brow crinkled, I could see the flicker of compassion dancing in her eyes. "You may need to wait a while. It's a long process. He will need stabilization. Can I see him?" I pleaded, desperation wrapping around my heart. "Not right now. We need to make sure he is stable," she said gently, but my resolve was beginning to crack. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, startling me. I pulled it out, and in huge letters, my sister's name glowed on the screen. Anna. I gasped, answering instantly. But before I could utter a word, her voice cut through the line, sharp and panic-stricken. Mila. Where are you? I saw the news, and just like that, the world tilted again, panic swirling within my own chest. I'm okay, but I need you to listen to me. There's been an accident. As she spoke, the nurse lingered nearby, eyeing me with concern. My heart raced with the unspoken words hanging between us. I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep my composure. Mila, get home now. Anna urged, urgency bleeding through her words. I can't. A sudden noise, somewhere beyond the sterile walls, interrupted us, a sound so familiar yet hollow. I straightened, my heart pounding against my ribs. It was the unmistakable sound of a siren, followed by the announcement echoing throughout the emergency room. We have an emergency patient arriving. Life-threatening injuries. My breath faltered, my heart sinking. Would I have to face a new uncertainty, a new battle? Was he only the beginning of a story not yet told? As Anna's voice faded and the reality of our conversation washed over me, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet once again. I steadied myself, realizing that my fight was only just beginning, my heart tethered to a man I barely knew, who was now entwined in my fate against my will. The fluorescent lights in the waiting room buzzed overhead, casting a sterile glow that only heightened my anxiety. With Anna's panicked voice still echoing in my mind, I clutched my phone tightly, my nails digging into the plastic as if it could anchor me to reality. The world around me was slipping through my fingers like so much snow, and all I could think about was the life I might have saved only to become entangled in a labyrinth of uncertainty that I paced restlessly, the tiles of the hospital floor cool beneath my feet. Every few moments, I would glance at the nurses, hoping for a sign, a glimmer of news. I barely noticed when another family entered the waiting area, a mother with a small child, their faces drawn in fear and exhaustion. Instinctively, I felt a pang of empathy for them, the weight of concern palpable in the air. It was a weight I understood all too well. As I wandered back toward the reception desk, something caught my eye. A small child, no older than 6, sat sobbing quietly in the corner, a worn teddy bear cradled tightly against her chest. My heart twisted. I hesitated, torn between the urgency of my own impending crisis and the fragile innocence of this little girl whose tears lashed against the cold plastic of her toy. Taking a deep breath, I approached her slowly. "Hey there," I said softly, trying to project warmth. She looked up, her eyes wide and red-rimmed. "What's wrong?" They said my daddy had an accident, and he might not come back," she hiccuped, tears spilling down her cheeks. My chest constricted at her innocent fear. "Oh sweetheart, I'm so sorry to hear that. Do you want to sit with me for a little while?" She nodded, her small frame trembling. I gently ushered her over to a nearby chair, and as she curled against me, I instinctively wrapped an arm around her, offering what little comfort I could. In her vulnerability, I found a flicker of purpose, a moment of connection that reminded me that even in darkness, small acts of kindness could still flicker like candlelight in the void. That we sat together in silence, my heart aching for both of our situations. In that fleeting moment, I felt my own worries fade just a little. The weight of my choices and my fears felt lighter under the shared burden of uncertainty. It was a reminder that we weren't alone, even when the world felt insurmountable. But after a while, the girl's mother came rushing over, her eyes frantic as she scooped her daughter into her arms. I wanted to reach out, to assure them both, but instead, I watched as they disappeared into the depths of the hospital, leaving me once again alone with my thoughts. A few moments later, as I resumed my pacing, a doctor walked into the waiting area, scanning the faces in the room. My pulse quickened as he approached me, his demeanor professional yet cautious. "Are you a friend of the injured patient?" I nodded, my throat dry. "Yes, I am." "How is he?" He hesitated, a flash of compassion crossing his features. "He is stable now, but it's touch and go. The next few hours will be critical. I felt the ground shift beneath my feet once again, yet it wasn't wholly a surprise. I should have known that the battle wasn't over, that the fight for life often spanned beyond immediate trauma. Can I see him? I pressed, my voice trembling with urgency. He sighed, clearly torn, but then he nodded. You can come in, but only for a few moments. Just to give him some support. With that, he led me down the stark, fluorescent-lit corridors, and each step echoed in my heart. As we rounded a corner, I caught sight of a bed behind the glass doors, a figure nestled beneath layers of blankets, machines beeping softly, the rhythmic sound both soothing and daunting. As I stepped closer, my heart thundered in recognition. It was him. Just as vulnerable and fragile as before, but somehow even more real. I could see the ghostly pallor of his skin against the stark white sheets, an unwelcome reminder of mortality. I took a tentative step forward, drawn in as if by some unseen tether. The doctor stayed back, offering me a moment that felt precious and fleeting. I sat down in the chair beside his bed, the sterile scent of antiseptic stinging my nostrils, the whir of machines marking the rhythm of his shallow breaths. Please, I whispered, my breath hitching in my throat. Don't leave me. I need you to fight this. We reformed this connection. The words tumbled from my lips, an uncharacteristic confession in the face of vulnerability. You can't just vanish from my life like this. His eyelids fluttered slightly, an imperceptible movement that felt like a world of possibility given form. I grasped his hand. The warmth of it, despite everything, reignited that flicker of hope within me. I wasn't ready to let go of him. Just then, my phone buzzed again in my pocket, the impatient vibration pulling me momentarily from my reverie. With trepidation, I fished it out, my heart seizing as I noticed the calling ID. It was Anna once more. I answered hesitantly. Anna, I can't talk right now. Mila, please, she interrupted, her tone tinged with urgency. I just got a message. There is something I need to tell you, something important. My heart stuttered. What is it? But the moment was broken as the sharp sound of the flatline alarm shattered the poignant silence, reverberating through the room like a gunshot. My heart plummeted, dread washing over me in crashing waves. The doctor rushed in, pushing past me, and suddenly everything spun out of control. Mila. Anna's voice echoed in my ear, but I was lost, teetering on the precipice of chaos, desperately grasping at the threads of hope that felt all but severed. The chaos blurred into a whirlwind of sounds and movements as medical personnel flooded the room. My mind screamed at the frantic beeping machines, their relentless cries echoing what felt like the crumbling of my entire world. The doctor barked orders, demanding immediate attention as he peered urgently at the monitors. All I could do was stand frozen, my heart pounding furiously while time stretched and crushed around me. Mila. What is happening? Anna's voice broke through, but her words felt distant, muffled beneath the weight of panic clinging to my chest. I pressed my back against the cold wall, feeling the chill seep through my clothes, reminding me that this was reality, not just some dreadful nightmare. Then, everything shifted, the frantic energy of the room growing heavier. The doctor's commands became less frantic, a grim focus taking over his features. I felt the heat of anger rise within me, angry at the situation, angry at the vulnerability of life, angry that all of this felt so utterly out of my control. Mila, talk to me. Anna pleaded again, her voice cutting through my haze. What is going on? You sound shut up for a second, Anna. I hissed, tears brimming in my eyes as I choked back the sob forming in my throat. Please, just let me be for a moment. Her silence struck me like a physical blow, forcing me to face the disarray of emotions cascading within. I was suffocating, torn between wanting to scream and wanting to curl up in a ball and wish the world away. But beneath that, tethered to my fear, there was still an ember of hope flickering, demanding my attention. I pushed away from the wall and moved closer to the bed, forcing my feet to keep going despite every instinct screaming to run. I clutched his hand tighter, tracing the lines on his palm, wishing for him to feel me, wishing for him to respond. Please don't you dare leave me, I murmured fervently, leaning closer. You're stronger than this. Fight. I'll do anything. Just come back to me. Just as I thought the sound of the flatline would haunt my dreams forever, a flicker came from his monitor. The steady rhythm of a heartbeat re-established itself, uneven but present. The doctor halted, surprise flitting across his features as he adjusted the settings on the machine. Get the defibrillator. He ordered sharply. In that moment, my entire reality pivoted. I stood there, feeling utterly helpless yet filled with an inexplicable sense of faith. I was holding on to that precious flicker, the sound of his heartbeat threading through me like a lifeline. Somehow, I understood that despite the chaos, hope could prevail in the most unexpected ways. The medical team worked efficiently, bustling around with precision as they prepared for resuscitation. Anna's voice seeped through again, softer this time, curbed by the urgency of the moment. Mila, tell me what I can do, she urged, sadness coloring her tone. I wanted to scream at her to take my hand, to share in this fear, but I swallowed the words, not wanting to break the fragile thread connecting me to him. Just be here with me, I whispered, my heart racing with the unfolding analysis of it all. As they prepared to shock him back to reality, I drew closer to him, my breath almost mingling with his. In that instant, I knew that this moment, this intersection of struggle and hope, reshaped everything for me. It solidified the connection we had built, however fundamentally petrifying it felt. Fight! I pleaded again, the instinct of urgency pouring from my very being. And then, as the doctor pressed the pads to his chest, the world around me reduced to a murmur, drowning in tension. Clear. The single command restored a sense of hope to the air, and in that moment of silence, I held my breath, waiting, praying for the impossible. As the defibrillator surged through him, a violent jolt punctuated the stillness, echoes of a battle breaching the weight of the unbearable silence. The machines whirled, beeping with signs of life renewed, but those small moments of hope felt bittersweet. The tussle between joy and despair grew ever more complicated. Come back to me. I cried out, the words escaping me in a rush of fervor, rising against the machine's whirring crescendo. His eyelids fluttered again, but this time, they opened slightly. His gaze, though hazy, found mine, and a flicker of recognition sparked within the depths of his darkened eyes. My heart soared, even amidst the uncertainty of the circumstances, but then without warning his expression faltered. A shadow crossed his features, pain flooding back with a sudden fierceness. Mila. He croaked, his voice barely audible but imbued with a sense of vulnerability that made me shiver. Before I could respond, the tension shattered as the door burst open, and a figure stepped into the room, tall, authoritative. The air shifted, the atmosphere thickening as I recognized the man from my past, the towering CEO whose presence alone demanded attention. His eyes narrowed sharply, drawn to the bed like a hawk spotting its prey. What are you doing here? He demanded, and the coldness of his words sliced through me like ice. I felt every eye in the room turn to me, weighing the implications of my presence, the bewilderment shifting to something darker, something that beat like a war drum in time with my panicking heart, and just like that, an entirely new storm surged to life around me, threading despair with that glimmer of hope that I barely grasped, storm clouds gathering ominously once more. The air around me thickened, a palpable tension surging as the CEO stepped further into the room, framing himself against the sterile backdrop of the hospital. For a brief, fragile moment, I forgot the chaos enveloping us, distracted instead by how he seemed almost out of place in this whirlwind of emotion and medicine. Dressed impeccably, his dark suit seemed to absorb the stark fluorescent light, giving him an air of surreal confidence even as the reality unfolded around us. Mila. My name hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. I could feel the weight of every curious gaze anchoring me in conflicting emotions: fear, uncertainty, and the lingering tether to the man lying on the bed. The flicker of hope in his eyes had been snuffed out by a shadow of something deeper, something far more threatening that hovered in the presence of this man. I'm here for him, I finally managed to stutter, each word feeling like a fragile piece of glass balancing on a razor's edge. I felt small beneath the cold scrutiny of the CEO's eyes, but I couldn't show my fear, not now. Not when I was fighting for one last glimmer of life. Who gave you permission to be here? He snapped, his tone cutting through me like a knife. This isn't a place for civilians. His words pulled me back, reminding me of the opaque boundaries that had once defined my world. I struggled to meet his gaze, unwilling to cower but aware that this man wielded power not just within the corporate walls he inhabited but in the lives of people like me, people caught within his orbit, tangled in their own struggles. Please, I said, my voice trembling but firm, I'm the only one he's got right now. He needs me. Though my heart pounded horrendously in my chest, I glanced back at him, who now lay beneath the blinking machines, envy of life tangled with his own darkening reality. He searched for something, some sense of assurance conveyed through the depths of fear in his eyes. I reached for him, desperate to bridge the chasm we stood upon. I'm right here, I whispered, a plea wrapped in the thickness of my raw emotion, and I'm not going anywhere. As if sensing my determination, the CEO's expression softened slightly, though uncertainty still churned in his posture. Standing as a protective wall, he didn't fully dislodge the weight of his authority from our situation, but a flicker of hesitation emerged within his demeanor. For a fleeting instant, I thought he might relent, that he might let me hold my place, but that moment was shattered by another beeping alarm on the monitor, urgent, demanding. Mila, the patient spoke again, his voice stronger though still laden with confusion. What is happening? I turned back to him, pushing the CEO from my mind. Everything's going to be okay. Just focus on my voice. I forced a smile through the tears, hoping to infuse him with courage. You're a fighter. I believe in you. The CEO readjusted his stance, lingering uncertainty shifting to a deeper intensity. This isn't over, he muttered, retreating slightly as he regarded my patient, a strange collaboration flickering between them, a silent acknowledgement that, despite everything, tension would settle between our worlds. The doctor returned, urgency marking his movements as he prepared to examine my love further, pulling up the sheets and checking vitals. With every moment that passed, it felt like the threads of hope were either weaving tighter or unraveling into despair, and I was left suspended within that uncertainty, heart racing against everything I didn't know. His vitals are stabilizing, the doctor confirmed, glancing toward us before checking the figures on the screen. But we can't predict how he'll respond. He's been through a lot. I nodded, swallowing the lump forming in my throat. My heart longed to believe that we could piece together the shards of this fractured moment, but the remnant of trepidation simmered beneath the surface. All I wanted was for him to wake fully, to take control of his own story, to flourish despite this storm, but the atmosphere remained electric with intensity as the CEO interjected, his voice rising. If you think you can just walk in here and assume the role of caregiver, you're mistaken. He needs real support resources beyond emotional nonsense. I felt the sting of his words deeply, but in that moment, an unexpected warmth surged between me and the man on the bed. I refused to be dismissed, and I wouldn't allow anyone to question my bond with him. I was tethered to his fight with a fierce intensity. Just leave him alone, I bit back, deadly calm as I turned to intentionally meet the CEO's challenging gaze. You have no idea what he needs. At the corners of my consciousness, Anna's presence flickered uncertainly, and she stepped forward tentatively. Mila, what if we ask his family to help? Maybe they could know. I shot back, feeling a surge of protectiveness. They weren't here when it mattered. And then, in the silence that fell, I realized how desperately I craved his awakening to fight against not only this medical battle but against the very ghosts that threatened to consume him. Before I could find the words, the machines beeped ominously, and his eyes fluttered as if he were fighting against a riptide. Mila, he breathed, the vibration of his voice striking a chord deep within my heart, drawing me ever closer to him. With a sudden, irrepressible force, the CEO stepped forward again, and as if on cue, the door swung open once more, this time revealing a woman, her impeccably styled hair cascading down her shoulders, accompanied by two intimidating figures, their presence radiating authority. A family member, I deduced, but the potent mix of emotions brewing within me began to waver. I could feel the walls closing in, the air thickening with unspoken conflicts as I stood trapped between fierce love and heavy confrontation. "Mila," he gasped weakly, and in that moment, my heart twisted with realization. This was just the beginning of a far more complicated chapter unfolding, and I was standing precariously at the crossroads of undeniable allegiance and fragile hope. Everything was unraveling far too quickly, and as shadows continued to stretch across the room, I understood with a chilling clarity that I was the only light fighting to ignite the path ahead. But what awaited us in the storm? As the woman stepped further into the room, her gaze landed on the bed, and the atmosphere shifted palpably as if the very walls had inhaled, preparing for the tempest. The figures that flanked her were sharp in their vigilance, silhouettes against the bright hospital lights. I clenched my fists, a rush of defiance surging through me. I had spent every moment fiercely guarding my connection with him, and now, as the storm approached, I felt the ground beneath me becoming even less certain. His eyes darted between us, and fear flickered there, the recognition of an impending conflict resting just beneath the surface. "No, Mom. Don't," he managed to croak out, unraveling a sentiment that felt poised on the edge of chaos. The delicate war between his needs and his family's presence unfurled before me, and I could nearly taste the bitterness of unresolved issues in the air. "Mila, I need to speak with you," the billionaire's mother said, her voice sharp yet strained, cutting through the tension. She took a step forward, her composure shimmering beneath layers of emotion I couldn't quite decipher. "We're doing everything we can to ensure his recovery." I shot a quick glance at him, his eyes desperate for reassurance amidst his mother's pending onslaught of opinions. "You don't know what he needs," I said, my voice barely a whisper but tangled in resolve. The CEO, who had emotionally retreated into the periphery, took a step closer to me, his intensity merging with desperation. "Mila, listen to reason. She's right, he needs a support system, and he has me." I interrupted, my heart hammering as the weight of their combined pressures bore down on me. "You can't just waltz in here and expect me to step aside. I want to let you take away what little he has left." My voice cracked, but finding strength in my refusal was like a breath of fresh air amidst the chaos. He didn't respond, the frustration skimming over his surface, but I could see in his eyes the flicker of something resembling respect. Perhaps he was beginning to understand the intangible bond stretching between the three of us, a bond that didn't fit neatly into any boxes. The doctor returned again, a figure of authority amidst the turmoil, reminding us all of the stakes. "We need to focus on his health, not the family drama," he said, his voice steadying the room though the energy remained charged. The moment stretched, electricity running through each of us as we grappled with our own motives, fears, and desires. "Mila," the billionaire murmured again, quietly begging for my attention. His voice frail yet unwavering wrapped around my heart, calling me back to him. "I'm here," I assured him, weaving determination into my words. "You're going to get through this." His mother shifted, the weight of the moment hanging heavy on her shoulders, and in that split second, I caught sight of what could only be described as vulnerability, the chink in her armor, the faintest glimmer of fear that began to radiate through her posh facade. "I lost him once," she said, her voice wavering for just a moment, the ice of her demeanor fracturing. "I can't do it again." Something shifted within me, a crack forming in my initial defensiveness. Despite everything, I could feel her fear resonating with my own, a universal truth binding us in all this conflict and chaos. We were both fighting to hold on to the same fragile life. "I know you care," I said softly, allowing a small thread of understanding to weave through the tense atmosphere. "But he needs to want to fight. He needs his own reasons to stay in this world, to save himself." "But I can provide that." She steadied herself, a hint of desperation creeping back in, her voice rising slightly. "We can help him." "Help?" I scoffed, unable to shake the feeling that any form of help she offered would come with strings attached that would only complicate his recovery. What does help even mean when you weren't here during the darkest days of his struggle? Silence descended, tension hanging like a cloud overhead, but in that thick atmosphere, a flicker of hope remained. Perhaps I could find a way to bridge the widening gulf between ambition and love. Perhaps I could let her see that standing together didn't mean letting go of their past. The billionaire's breath quickened, and I noticed the communication flicker in his eyes, a silent plea urging me to make room for mercy rather than animosity. And just like that, uncertainty began to shift, though darkness lingered, a spark of light flickered between us, bringing with it whispers of new beginnings. As I took a step closer to him, my heart pounding with the weight of the moment, a sudden interruption pulled my focus, the unmistakable sound of a phone ringing, cutting through our emotional battlefield. Anna's voice broke through the tension, and before I could respond, she answered and turned white as a ghost. "Mila, you need to see this. You won't believe who's at the hospital." I felt my heart drop at the implications of her words, dread flooding through my veins as I turned to face the door, a familiar face already edging its way into the scene, a silhouette stepping through the doorway that sparked more questions than answers. My breath hitched at the sight of the newcomer, an unsettling blend of dread and disbelief coiling in my chest. There was something inherently enchanting yet dangerously unpredictable about him, the billionaire's estranged twin brother, someone I'd only heard whispers of in the shadows of their family saga. Rumors had painted him as the black sheep, the wayward son eclipsed by his sibling's brilliance. But here he stood, hair tousled and eyes shadowed by doubt, faced with the gravity of the situation that had spiraled out of control. "I came as soon as I heard," he murmured, his gaze darting from me to his brother, now pale and frail in the hospital bed. "What's happening?" An undercurrent of guilt washed over me, tangled with helplessness. I had fought so fiercely to protect his brother that I had forgotten the inherent complexities of family dynamics. I hesitated, the weight of the truth clinging to my throat as I steadied my resolve. "He's fighting for his life." "Fighting?" he echoed, tenderness lacing his voice as he stepped forward, emanating an unexpected warmth. His hand brushed against the top of his brother's frail, bandaged hand, and a moment of vulnerability flickered between them, a glimmer of a bond forged amid battles for love and attention. It was in that quiet gesture, I began to see how fractured their relationship had become and how desperately they needed a bridge to span the chasm between them. "Mila," his brother whispered, the weariness coating his tone layered with desperation as he lay there powerless. "Don't let them. Is it really worth it? The fighting?" Without fully understanding why, anger flared within me. "You deserve to be fought for, not just given up on." His eyes caught mine then, a spectrum of emotions flourishing in the space between us. "I want to fight, but I also can't let my family tear apart any more than it already has." And just like that, quiet clarity unfurled between us, a testament to mutual curiosity sizzling under the surface. We were all caught in the web of family expectation, poised precariously near the edge of choices both pivotal and perilous. "What do we do now?" I asked the room, my heart racing with the weight of possibilities both empty and profound. The hospital room felt smaller, the walls closing in like a suffocating embrace. The two brothers exchanged glances that spoke volumes, a language woven with sorrow, hope, and a longing for connection that had been so cruelly severed. It stirred something inside me, urging action rather than inertia. Uncertainty gnawed at my resolve as I glanced back at the billionaire's mother, who had taken a step back, her expression a mask of brewing conflict from anger to sorrow, a caterpillar struggling out of a chrysalis. "You both need to talk," I said firmly, finding strength in my words. "This is bigger than any of us. If he's going to get through this, you can't leave anything unsaid." Silent hesitation cloaked the brothers, and as I looked back at them, apprehension danced across their features. "Do you really think we can?" the twin whispered, vulnerability breaking his stoic facade. "Can we even begin to heal?" The air felt heavy, laden with unshed tears, but the room felt different now, the tension shifting subtly, no longer just a battleground but a cradle of potential. "You have to try," I pleaded, my voice steady with the weight of everything I had been fighting for: his life, their relationship, the future teetering precariously in our hands. But just as a glimmer of understanding began to knit itself around us, an eerie shadow flickered across the doorway. A figure obscured the entrance, pale as a ghost, and all turned to witness the unwelcome intrusion. It was Anna, her expression less informed than anxious, toying with the edge of her shirt as if straddling the boundary of unwelcome news. I didn't mean to interrupt," she stammered, gaze shifting to the floor. But there was something more, a gleam of urgency in her eyes, hinting at a revelation that could change everything yet again. "Mila, there is something you need to know," she said softly, vulnerability spilling over into the hospital's sterile atmosphere, once again twisting my heart into knots. "About their family and what's happening right now." I felt every pulse in my veins freeze, the anticipation now a sinister weight pressing down on me. I wasn't ready for another blow, not when the fragile threads of hope hung by the thinnest of seams. "What is it?" I demanded, daring the truth as I prepared for whatever storm lay ahead. But as Anna took a trembling breath, the look in her eyes told me she bore news that could unravel the very foundation we had just begun to piece back together. I gripped onto the edge of the bed, my world narrowing around her next words, knowing full well the implications of whatever she was about to say could send us spiraling into a dark unknown. Anna's silence stretched out like an unending chasm, fraught with the heavy weight of unsaid truths and impending revelations. The flickering fluorescent lights above seemed to dim as time stretched, every heartbeat echoing in the room, amplifying my anxiety. I desperately searched her eyes for reassurance, but all I found was uncertainty layered with urgency. "Mila, I couldn't keep this to myself any longer," she finally uttered, voice trembling as though she were on the brink of exposing a secret so volatile that it might explode in our faces. "There is something going on with the company, something that involves your boyfriend's brother." In an instant, the earlier warmth that had begun to blossom in the room was doused by a chill creeping through my core. I exchanged glances with the twin, his brows knitted together, the flicker of fear visible in his expression. "What do you mean?" he demanded, voice sharp with concern. Anna swallowed hard, visibly fighting through the shock her own words seemed to summon. "While you were with him planning your fight, your brother's company has been grappling with a crisis. A hostile takeover is on the horizon, accelerated by their rivalry. It's bad, really bad. It's just a business deal," the billionaire's twin said, nearly choking on the words as if saying it aloud would magically erase the anxiety clawing at him. "No, you don't understand," Anna pressed on, her eyes darting between us as if weighing the best course of action. "This isn't just about the company. It's about reputation and survival too. If they win this, everything your brother's legacy, everything he's built the family will fracture beyond repair." I could almost feel the energy in the room shift, the air thickening with dread as I processed the implications of her words. The fight I thought I was advocating for had suddenly evolved into a standoff far more perilous than I could have ever anticipated. "Then we have to," I began, wanting desperately to summon courage in the face of this mounting threat. But my voice faltered, the enormity of the challenge suffocating me. I turned to the twin. "You need to step up. Your brother's life depends on you and your family working together." His face, however, reflected nothing but conflict, his desire to protect one brother complicating his loyalty to the others. "And what if that family is broken beyond repair?" he murmured, the question hanging heavy between us. My heart sank at the raw edge of his vulnerability, a small light of bravery flickered in me. "You can't let fear win. Your brother needs this fight. You both do." Just then, I caught a glimpse of the billionaire, his eyes fluttering open. Even in his frail state, there was an undeniable spark of recognition. He sensed our rising tide of tension, something thrumming beneath the surface, and it drew him into our conversation. "Mila," he croaked, voice barely above a whisper. "What is happening?" A tremor swept through me at the sight of him, so fragile yet undeniably resilient. I stepped closer, my heart aching for the moments he hadn't been able to reclaim. "You're not alone. We're fighting for you, and your brother has a decision to make." But before I could finish, the hospital room door swung open without warning, a paramedic striding in, urgency replacing the quiet chaos we were engulfed in. "We need to prepare for further complications. There's been a sudden drop in his vitals," he announced. Everything spiraled into a blur as the tension shattered into frantic energy. A whirlwind of doctors and nurses rushed in. I felt helpless, my heart plummeting into a pit of despair. The room erupted into a flurry of hurried instructions and medical jargon, but it all washed over me like a distant wave. My focus was on the twin, still standing there, stunned and immobilized. "Wait!" I shouted, my voice barely piercing through the chaos, desperate for him to remain grounded in this moment. "You need to tell him about the family. He can help, you can help each other." In the frenzy, I could see the twin-'s gaze lock onto his brother's face. For one brief, electrifying moment, the din of the hospital faded, replaced by the unyielding silent plea caught between their eyes. There was a flicker of understanding, a shared burden borne on their shoulders, but then, just as quickly as it had begun, the surge of warmth I felt was doused by the cold hard grasp of fear. My breath hitched, and deeper still, an unyielding dread grasped me as I felt the distance between them widening once more, only now with stakes far greater than before did I wrap my arms around myself, feeling utterly powerless, as the paramedics worked feverishly. And in that moment, when hope hung so precariously in that hospital room filled with sorrow, a harrowing realization slammed into me. I wasn't just fighting for their relationship to heal, I was fighting for survival, for something bigger than myself. The world beyond the walls felt disconnected, yet as the storm raged on outside, a visual echo of the turmoil within, I understood that hope thrived in the darkest places. And just when I thought I had quieted my own storm, the ominous clattering of machinery cut through the air, a beep, then another, sharp and insistent, warning us all that we were running out of time, and just as I steeled myself to face the consequences, choking back the fear threatening to consume me, my phone buzzed ominously in my pocket. I fished it out to find a message, one that would change everything: "Meet me at the old family estate. I have something you need to know." I looked up, breathless, at the twin-'s expression, knowing none of us were ready for the revelations lurking just beyond that threshold. Whatever awaited next would surely challenge every bond we were trying to mend. I stumbled back, my vision momentarily blurred by the flood of emotions washing over me. The weight of the emergency in the hospital room loomed larger than ever, but the message pulsing in my hand felt like a siren call, an echo demanding to be answered. The twin-'s gaze, filled with both disbelief and unspoken questions, anchored me momentarily. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice strained but laced with genuine concern. The ordinary timbre of his tone reminded me that even in chaos, kindness could shine through the darkness. No, I don't think I am," I admitted, my voice trembling as I parsed the contents of the message that had sent my heartbeat racing. "I have to go. I can't explain right now, but I can't ignore this." "Who is it from?" he pressed, his brow furrowing even deeper, a mix of protectiveness and curiosity written across his features. That I hesitated, torn between two worlds, the urgent crisis tethered to my heart in this sterile hospital room, and the potential tempest brewing at the family estate. "It's someone who knows more about the situation. Someone who might have insights into your brother's business and how to save him. Then we go together." "There's no time to lose," he insisted, leaving me no room for argument as he moved into action, gathering his belongings. Just as he turned to fetch his brother's chart, an urgent beeping emanated from the machines, increasing in tempo, a stark reminder of the urgency at hand. Moments evaporating like mist, I stepped towards the twin, desperation clinging to my voice. What if we don't have time? What if your brother needs you here?" But in that instant, we locked eyes, a shared understanding kindling in the depths of our uncertainties. He might need to know the truth too. The fight won't matter if he has no legacy left to protect. Inside me, a flicker of hope sparked. Perhaps I had unknowingly struck a chord. My heart pulsed in my chest, a steady rhythm marking the resolve I felt crystallizing between us. "Then let us go. We can't let fear take hold. Your brother's fight begins with us," I affirmed, my voice now steadier. Together, we sprinted out of the hospital room, leaving a whirlwind of medical activity in our wake. My pulse quickened not just from the run but from the sense of purpose coiling tight around my heart. We dashed to his car, navigating through the corridors, the fluorescent lights buzzing above as we raced against time. The cold wind greeted me sharply as the door swung open, the air filled with the crisp scent of impending snow. The sky loomed heavy and gray, flurries beginning to swirl as the first droplets of winter danced in the air. We climbed in, and I stole a quick glance at the twin, his jaw set with determination. Despite the uncertainty, a flicker of strength surged between us, binding us together in this reckless venture. As he revved the engine, I clenched my phone tightly, the message driving every thought in my head. The family estate loomed larger in my mind, a place where generations of secrets may linger, cobwebbed with family disagreements and untold stories. What new truths awaited us? With every mile, however, dread seeped deeper into my bones. What if we were too late? What if the storm outside mirrored the tempest within the family, unraveling whatever shreds of unity we had fought to preserve? Each gust of wind rattled the windows, too closely echoing the disquiet swirling in my chest. Minutes later, headlights broke through the growing storm, illuminating the silhouette of the estate poised against the bleak horizon. As we approached, the enormity of the Gothic structure loomed ominously, reminding me that the past wasn't merely history but also a current that could sweep us away if we were not careful. "Are you ready?" the twin asked, his breath fogging in the icy air as he stared ahead, steeling himself. "No," I replied honestly, fear knotting in my stomach, but something deeper urged me on. Our bond had fortified with every moment, every challenge, and whatever the night might hold, I knew we had to dive in head first. With a shared deep breath, we stepped out of the car and climbed the steps leading to the grand entrance, the wind wailing like a mournful spirit. But as we reached the heavy wooden door, it swung open unexpectedly, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows. "Welcome back," the voice was smooth, chilling, resonating with a familiarity that made every nerve in my body tense. "I've been waiting for you both." It was then that I realized, in the tangled web of family complexities and corporate warfare, we might not be alone after all. Perhaps in the vast silence of the estate, beside memories we hadn't yet encountered, lay a deeper truth waiting to unravel, a truth that could alter everything we had fought for. The doors slammed shut behind us, sealing our fate as darkness enveloped the twisted roots of the family legacy. The atmosphere of the estate felt thick, almost suffocating, as the heavy door closed with an echoing finality that reverberated through the looming silence. The figure before us stood cloaked in shadows, the gleam of dim light bouncing off their features just enough for me to catch a glimpse of familiarity. My heart raced as the weight of their presence pressed down on me, mingling dread with a flash of recognition that sent my mind spiraling. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice a mere whisper as the cold air slipped around us, wrapping us in an uneasiness that seemed to linger like a specter. "I am the one who holds the keys to what you seek," they replied, voice smooth yet laced with an ominous edge. "And I presume you have questions." The twin beside me folded his arms, an irritable tension exuding from him, yet curiosity flickered in his eyes as he stepped closer, drawn to the mystery unfolding before us. "What do you know about my brother? What is happening to his company?" "Everything," they responded, a subtle smirk hinting at untold stories beneath the surface. The world outside faded as I felt the walls of the estate close in. Years of rising tensions, family shadows, and volatile power struggles settled like dust in the stillness, surrounding us in a cocoon of apprehension. I glanced at the twin, our shared resolve igniting beneath our rushing fears. We weren't here just to uncover the truth, we were here to reclaim the lost pieces of their family, to stitch together remnants of struggle and ambition. But as the gauzy veil of uncertainty lifted, something gnawed at my heart, a bitter taste of apprehension lingering in the depths of my soul. "Tell us what you know." "We can't afford any more secrets," I urged, my voice echoing against the aged walls. The figure pushed forward, leading us into a dimly lit room adorned with reminders of a past entwined in battles for legacy. "This family has always been torn between duty and desire," they murmured, their tone drowning in a precarious tension. "Your brother has been at the heart of it all, trying to navigate a company riddled with jealousy and greed. But there's more, a hostile takeover is merely a smokescreen overshadowing the deeper rifts in this family." My heart sank as fragments of information fell into place, a series of disjointed pieces slowly forming a larger picture. "And the rival company? What is their connection to all of this?" I pressed, needling deeper into the web we had stumbled upon. The figure paused, letting the weight of their words hang in the air. "The rival company is not what you think. It's spearheaded by someone within your brother's circle, a close confidant, one who has manipulated everything from behind the scenes. They want to see the family full of despair, divided irreparably. Each revelation sliced through me, emotions flaring in a spiraling chorus of anger and sorrow. The depth of betrayal flooding through these walls suffocated any room for hope. I swallowed hard, grappling with the implications of their revelations. "We can stop it," I declared, my heart racing at the very idea of entering the fray. "If we expose them, if we could unite everyone under a common purpose, we could know," the figure interrupted sharply, their tone cutting through the haze of idealism. "Unity cannot be forced, it must be earned. Your brother, as he is now, cannot shoulder the burden alone. The family must confront their ghosts, their history, or they risk losing everything." The twin's expression hardened, his jaw clenching as realization dawned on him. They need to be honest with each other. Without that, there's no fight left. I nodded, the weight of his words resonating deeply within me. This was far more than just saving a company or restoring a life. We were looking at the possibility of freedom from the chains binding them to a painful legacy. "So where do we start?" The figure's lips curled into a knowing smile, the shadows giving way to a glimmer of motivation. "By revealing the truth buried in the past. To do so, you must join forces with each corner of this family, every ally willing to stand against the storm." "Then let us do it," I urged, my resolve steeling. Turning to the twin beside me, I saw the determination flickering in his dark eyes. "Let us bring them together. We need to confront the rival company and gather everyone, show them that your brother is more than just a liability, he is the heart of this family." With that, as we stepped forward into the heart of the estate, something shifted within me, a spark igniting the hope that refused to falter even in the face of adversity. I felt both trepidation and a burgeoning courage intertwining, like the very storm swirling outside, giving life to the power of perseverance, but just then, a new presence intruded, sending tremors through the tapestry of our purpose, footsteps echoing like a drum, heavy with intent. The door swung open, and in walked a familiar face, someone I had never expected to see. "Ah, the two of you." It was the billionaire's mother, her presence commanding and overwhelming. "I had a feeling you'd come here." I locked eyes with the twin, his tension palpable against the backdrop of hostility threading through the room. "You shouldn't be here," I warned, almost instinctively, recognizing that the weight of her presence could throw everything off balance, but she stepped forward, unwavering and fierce. "Perhaps it's time to face the demons of this family, to finally uncover the mysteries that have haunted us for long enough. I want to help. But you must understand it requires honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to face the truth." And just like that, in the swirling vortex of uncertainty, shadows of hope cast long against the walls. With each step we took toward confrontation, every deliberate action forged with honesty and purpose, I realized something profound. Within each of us lay the potential for redemption, buried beneath layers of hurt and pride. As the stars emerged, barely visible through the storm's haze, I felt the storm gathering within, promise mixed with perilous paths ahead, intertwining destinies waiting to unfold in the fragility of human connection. Steeling myself, I nodded slowly. "Then let us begin. It's time for the truth. Not just for your brother, but for all of us." And as we illuminated the dark corners of their shared past, we would weave together the intricate tapestry of their future's healing scars that had long laid dormant, waiting for the brave to rise against their chains. Together, we would face the storm and emerge stronger, but in that very realization, as pieces began to fit together, something inside whispered that the last echoes of the heartfelt battle had yet to unfold. Within those walls of history, we'd uncover truths that would change everything. In that fragile moment of anticipation, I braced for what lay ahead, because every heart in that room had a choice, and I was resolved to help them choose to fight for love, hope, and, ultimately, the legacy that deserved to thrive. As the winds howled outside, I turned toward the twin. "Are you ready?" "We can't fight without each other," he replied, certainty breaking through the din of uncertainty. And together, we plunged into the unfolding tale, hearts intertwined, not just as allies but as champions of change. This storm was just the beginning, our beginning crafted in the elements of trust, transformation, and the pure essence of unyielding love.